You might wonder why legaltraining.tv and myself have wanted to do this course at this stage. And the answer for that perhaps is best illustrated by last week's Gazette. I hope you can see that on camera. But in essence, the legal profession is changing. The way in which consumers are buying legal services is changing, and also the way in which businesses are buying legal services are changing. And whilst they're clearly two very distinct marketplaces, I'm going to suggest throughout the course of this interactive talk that the future is going to look different. If I can read you just one quote perhaps of last week's Gazette cover provided by qualitysolicitors.com, which is obviously a marketing tool for solicitors. In essence, at the top right hand corner there is a quote saying as many as 3,000 high street law firms, or 35% of the total, may have to disappear. High street law firms will be a rarity. I have attended a number of business planning seminars and reviews over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, and a constant theme has been that 3,000 figure, and it has focused primarily on the effects of the Legal Services Act on consumer aspects of law. I actually think that the fallout of the Legal Services Act 2007, when it comes fully into fruition in 2011, will actually be greater than that. I think it will affect all of the legal sectors. And to put it into perspective as to why the legal sector is attractive to non-law firms, perhaps the starting point is to understand that the business-to-business law market is worth £3 billion to the UK economy. The consumer law sector in the last year for which full figures were available, which I think is 2007 from memory, was 12 billion. Now, arguably the recession would have affected those figures, but in essence you see that it's a very large market. So if you want to change the culture of your law firm, what do? Well, the first thing I suggest is that you need to accept that change always comes with resistance. And if you're a partner, or if you're a practice manager and you're looking to introduce a corporate culture, you are going to encounter some resistance to that. In part that is a culture issue because of law firms and the traditional partnership way of thinking. I suggest that one of the ways in which you can overcome that resistance is to look at, before you raise this as an issue, whether you be a practice manager or a practice director or a senior partner wanting to change the culture of your firm, by coming up with some examples of wastage and overspend. Because not only are those factual and not opinion based, they then can be measured. You need to make sure the partnership agreement, of course, or the shareholders agreement is drafted in quite the right way. And I'm going to suggest something which is a reluctance for many law firms, but I'm going to suggest that you need to obtain external legal advice on your partnership agreement or your shareholder agreement, not because you don't have the capability to do it in-house, because many firms do, but that the way in which it is drafted will be affected by your internal politics and your internal positions, and instead going external gives you that third party impartiality that is necessary. So I don't think you should be going to the friend of the senior partner who happens to do a bit of partnership drafting at the firm 20 miles down the road. I think you should be seeking expert external advice from one of the partnership specialist law firms. We have a question in. It's from Andrew Cowell of Coventry. Thank you for your question, first of all, Andrew. As solicitors, we've operated in a closed environment for many years. The opening up of competition is a major negative, as the fees we can charge will fall. Do you agree? Well, actually, no, I don't. And I think that in certain sectors they are going to come under pressure to fall. I think the difference that we will be able to amplify to the public if we get our message as a profession right, whether we do that by joining forces, whether we do that through marketing alliances, and I'll come on to those sorts of things later on in the talk. But one of the ways in which I think fees may not fall is if you offer fixed fees. And you offer fixed fees and you sell the benefits of dealing with solicitors, of legal experts, and not with a co-op call centre. We may have to take them on and point out the weaknesses in their business model, just as they're going to take us on and point out the weaknesses in, our professional spread, if you like. Being 10,000 firms clearly isn't cost effective. A question in from Julie Smith of Glasgow. Thank you very much, first of all, Julie, for the question. The question is, can anybody now become a partner in an LDP? The answer to that is yes, provided they are a person of good standing, they meet the suitability criteria, which effectively is that they're not dishonest, they're not a disqualified director, and there's nothing adverse about them which would bring the profession into disrepute. Then the answer is yes.